welcome to Sim Radio here on the Sisters in Music Network. It's Monday Music Madness, and you're tuned into Mixing It with Nicki Kris. This is Nicki, and in case you don't know anything about me, I'm a singer-songwriter from Raleigh, North Carolina. My show celebrates women in the music and entertainment industry, providing an avenue for them to showcase their talent. Our motto, Sisters in Music, together we are stronger. My guest today is a DC-based children's artist and songwriter that blends catchy, feel-good songs about science and how the world works with positive social messages. She is a former cognitive neuroscientist and now an award-winning songwriter who is known for clever original songs that make science facts with messages about kindness and friendship. Together with her band, she loves to inspire curiosity about science through her music with her signature positive energy and songs that are playful, educational, and entertaining for all ages. Please join me in welcoming the awesome Marsha Goodman-Wood, leader of the renowned Marsha and the Positron.
Thank you so much for that lovely introduction. It's so nice to get to chat with you today.
Yes, I'm so excited to have you on the show. I'm excited to talk to you. And obviously, everyone can hear that you have a little bit of a cold, little bit of congestion. So we'll just get that right out of the way now. I'm sorry to hear that you're ill, and I do appreciate it.
Oh, I'm sorry. My voice is a little scratchy today. Yeah, I'm so a little under the weather, but happy to be here and happy to be chatting with you. And so, just bear with me for for the way I sound today.
No worries. Well, we are going to get things started. We're going to kick things off. Why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and how you got started in music?
I've been singing as long as I can remember and always enjoyed music, played different instruments growing up and played in the band, at, like the school, the marching band and, the different ensembles at school. But really, like, singing is my passion. And, once I got a little bit older, like once I was in college, I started taking like some formal voice lessons and really exploring voice. But all along, music was sort of a side thing, and I was always doing academics. And so you mentioned that I was a cognitive neuroscientist, so I was kind of following that path. And I was in grad school and decided I would leave my PhD program with my master's and decided to take a little turn and explore music a little bit more. So the day that I mailed off my master's thesis, I bought a guitar. And I had already been writing songs in my head and, jamming with people. I would sing, they would play guitar, but I wanted to be able to be, like, independent and not have to, like, coordinate with somebody else's schedule if I wanted to, jam a little bit. And one of the instruments that I played growing up was violin. I played violin and also a little bit of cello. And so I feel like I picked up guitar pretty quickly because some of those skills are kind of transferable. With fingering and bowing is kind of similar to fingering and strumming. So I was able to guitar and start songwriting. I was living in Boston at the time, and I started exploring going out to different, like, open mics and blues jams and piano bars and stuff like that, and just singing, which was something I hadn't really done before, and just started getting this really lovely response when I would sing, and just made me feel like, okay, you know what, I'm on the right path. This is something to keep exploring. And so I've continued to explore that, and it has led me here. Once I had children, which was a few years later, I started writing songs for my kids, and I'm just singing to them. My daughter, once she was born, I would just sing to her to keep her occupied and to, keep her happy during diaper changes or during different things when she was, sitting in the high chair and I'm making dinner or whatever. And some of these songs started coming out. So eventually I recorded some and now I've got 3 albums and have kept going with that. So, yeah, that's my rambling answer to that question.
No, but I love it. It's so cool to hear how people go from pursuing one thing that they love, right? Because it's a big difference between cognitive neuroscience and music, right? 2 completely different things. And I really love hearing how people follow their passion by,
Right,
incorporating music and things. And I would imagine, though, that that's one of the reasons why that you decided to focus on songs about science is your science background.
Yeah, the funny thing is, like, for me, there are, like, kind of weird connections that, like, I think maybe not everybody would necessarily think of. But, like, for one thing, I've done a lot of work with little kids. I started teaching, actually, at my kiddos' preschool. And that came about because I went in to celebrate my daughter's 3rd birthday. And she was the first, so I didn't really know what they did. And they said, would you like to come in? And I said, shall I bring my guitar? And they said, sure. And so I had written her a little birthday song that was like this like interactive song with her name, and I did 3 as a magic number. And I think I did like one other song. I don't remember what the other song was, probably Happy Birthday, but maybe there was something else too. Anyway, I ended up getting like recruited to teach at the preschool and ended up going through this training program and started working with little kids and had, at the time, 2 of my own. And I think that kids are like natural scientists. And so they ask all these why questions. And to me, like, why questions often have a science answer, right? And so some of those science answers turned into songs. And then, I also think a lot about music and movement are, like, really critical to, like, kids' brain development. And so I think about that, when I'm writing a song, like, what are the kids doing, and thinking about how movement connects to it. And then I do teaching artist work. I've done like different music teaching with like from babies on up. And so I do think about those science connections and those brain connections with music. So it's sort of, it feels natural to me. Like it's I don't know, like not everybody would take this path, but this path like makes sense to me. So that's how I got here.
It does make sense. And I could definitely see the correlation. It was funny that you mentioned that, you get some of the, why questions. I used to write down things and then stop doing it, but I used to write down things that my kids used to say, and I would be like, out of the mouths of babes, right? I was like, would keep a record of, oh my God, where did this come from?
Yeah.
You're 6 years old. How did this come out of your mouth, right?
Totally,
they'll say something, and you're like, what? Where did that come from?
I have all these stories about songs where they came from, like something funny that one of them said. Like I have 3 children. My middle son especially, he's the why kid. He would always ask all these why questions and have all these follow-up questions. For example, like our first record is called Gravity Vacation, and the title track is a song about gravity and inertia. And the song came from, we were like driving on the highway, and he looked out the window and he saw like smoke rising from a factory or something along the road. And he said, I think he was thinking about like the smoke rising, and he said, what if the cars floated away? And he said, well, the cars won't float away because of gravity. And he said, well, how do you know that they'll never, ever float away? Because he always had the follow-up question. And my husband said, well, there's no vacation from gravity. And then we got into this conversation about gravity. But that, like, idea stuck in my head, like, and that phrasing, like, there's no vacation from gravity. And so that sort of inspired the song. And also, like, he was probably, like, 5 at the time. But we ended up having this conversation and explained, what gravity meant and words he could understand. And I always feel like kids can understand anything if you explain it in words they can understand, right? So, like, they ask these, like, big questions, and, like, they deserve answers to them, right? So, like, it's up to us to figure out how to say it and break it down in ways that they can understand. And sometimes it, turns into a song.
I absolutely love that. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Well, this is actually a great place. No, I do. And I really like your songs because I learned stuff too, believe it or not. So it's not just for kids. Trust me. Great place for us to share one of the songs that you brought with you. Let's talk about Counting on My Brain. What inspired this particular composition?
So this one, because I did cognitive neuroscience, and this was, I had already done 2 albums, and I have cover like all this like variety of topics because, like I said, sometimes it comes from like random conversations with my kids or even with like students and things. But I had wanted to write something that was like connected to what I studied, connected to like neuroscience. And that was like particularly hard because like I've had to study a lot of different things. So there was like, well, what do I focus on to sing about? Because there's like a lot of things you could sing about, and then the brain is kind of complicated. Right? So at some point that idea came to me of like, oh, wouldn't it be fun to do like a counting song and just sort of focus on a few things, like brain structures and things like that. So that was kind of like the idea that sort of like spawned the song. But then also the other aspect of my songwriting is I don't want any of my songs to be like a lesson, right? I don't want it to just be like, here's, I'm singing some facts to you. I want it to be about something more. And my goal is to sort of like connect science with our humanity and think about like, okay, how does this idea fit into the big picture? Like what's the like message that I want to share with the world? And so like that idea of like playing with that idea of like counting on you and like what can we count on, that was kind of like where I took that song. So I kind of merged those ideas in the song, and then this song went through a few rounds of edits. So in the song I counted up to 5. Originally I counted up to 6, but then it gets like more complicated for 6, it took like 2 verses, and the song was getting really long. So I edited it back a little bit. And I wanted it to still be like fun and catchy. And then once we went into the studio, my bandmates and the other musicians on the album ended up adding their like influence to it. And it sort of became like this just really like jaunty, fun song. And then one of my favorite parts about this song is the trombone that my producer TJ added to it. He's like so talented and plays all these different instruments, and he added that. Like that was kind of like one of the later pieces that got added, and I just love how that enhances the track, and it's just turned out to be such a fun song.
Well, it is a really, really fun song, and we are going to play it for everyone. So Yay! This is Counting on My Brain by Marsha and the Positrons. Here it is.
You got one little brain in your head. It controls everything you've ever done or said. And you've got two hemispheres that make up the 2 halves of that one little brain in your head.
like I mentioned, it's a really, really fun song. And I also said earlier that your songs are not just for kids.
Right.
I think it's fantastic because it actually probably is a little challenging, I guess, to write a song that's not just for kids, but also will appeal to families or adults in attendance, right, too? So how do you think that that's potentially different? Because it is a little bit different. It's definitely different from writing from other genres. You know, speaking for myself, because I generally tend to lean pop, rock, alternative, my brain goes in a completely different direction. And obviously there are sometimes where I'm like, ooh, you know, I've got to be careful with the lyrics depending upon who might be listening to them. So how is songwriting for kids and families different, in your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I never dumb down songs for kids. So I feel like I'm writing things that anybody can hear, that a kid can, that's all kid appropriate. But if it's a concept that I'm explaining to a kid, it's a concept that I could be explaining to anyone. I'm not using vocabulary that only a kid can understand. I use real vocabulary, I use real facts. I fact check the songs. If it's something that I'm less familiar with, I make sure that the facts are correct, and that because you have to be choosy with your words in a song, I like to make sure that the words that I've chosen, the way that I've sort of shortened it, that it still is accurate and makes sense. It is something that if it's something new to you, to anybody, that they can get something out of it and get accurate information out of it. I think also just as a parent, I appreciate having things that the whole family can listen to or that I enjoy listening to. So, I want it to be musically interesting. And, like I said, that it sort of combining science and our humanity or whatever topic it is, that it's got some message that's worth hearing. And so I feel like if it's it's probably worth hearing for anyone. So that's kind of just how I write.
It's very challenging because it is very hard to, I give you massive props from a songwriting perspective because it is very hard. No, really, I'm dead serious, because it is really, really hard to take a science concept and pair it with a positive message, and then also, make sure that composition is good for all ages, right? It's not easy.
Yeah.
I don't think I could do it.
Well, and I think if I was worried about that, it would be harder. But usually what I think about when I'm writing is just trying to make it interesting and fun, and I have to be satisfied with it. If it's a rhyme that makes me giggle or or feel I enjoy finding a fun rhyme or something. I feel like others will also, and that I'm okay with, for example, a kid maybe who's younger, who's listening, not picking up everything on the first listen, right? Or not picking up everything right away, because I think everybody can get something out of music, out of a song, and it's okay if they don't pick up everything. In fact, then maybe they want to listen more, or they come back to it. Mm. And I feel like that's fine, right? So I'm not worried about people picking up everything every time. And sometimes it cracks me up. I submitted one of my songs to a song contest. It was from the last record. It's this song called Alien in an Ambulance. And the song is an alphabet song, right? It pairs a creature with a vehicle going through the alphabet, but it's subtle. So it's not obviously an alphabet song. And the feedback I got was well, this is a fun concept, but I don't understand why you didn't keep talking about the alien in the ambulance or something. They didn't get that. They totally missed that it was an alphabet song. And I was that's kind of funny. I guess I accomplished my goal of being subtle with the fact that it was an alphabet song. Right? But so that kind of amused me, and also I was oh. But but in a way that's good, that you have to listen actively, I guess, right? Or you can listen passively and just enjoy the music, enjoy the performances, and we get different things out of music at different points, points with depending on our mood or our attention level, or what else we're doing, if we're listening in the background or if we're actively listening. So I feel like it's okay to have different things happening in the songs, and people will get out of it what they're ready for in that moment, what they're ready to receive.
So one of the questions that I ask all of my songwriters is a songwriting tip or trick to share. So I would love to get a songwriting tip or trick from you.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Sometimes when I write, if I notice that I'm being repetitive, I will go back and just sort of analyze those words and think about okay, how can I put a more quality word in here? Or I find it an interesting challenge to try to make every word count as much as possible. So if I'm repeating something, it's purposeful, and if there's an opportunity to add some different word in there or find a better rhyme or something like that. It's like a puzzle I want to solve. And so I like to do that. Sometimes then it feels okay, now it's there. Now this is what I want to say, and this is how I want to say it, and I feel okay, then some other people will appreciate that at some point, hopefully. So I don't know if that's a good tip.
Yes, absolutely.
One of the songs, I don't know what song is coming up next, but one of the songs that I called on this record is called Kinetic and Potential Energy. And at some point I hit upon using the word joules in there, which is the measure of energy, Joules. And while I was thinking about that it has the, it sounds like the word jewels, fancy jewelry, Jewels. And so once I sort of found that little angle in there, that kind of amused me. And so I felt that was the last piece of that verse that really cemented it for me. So that's just a little, and I feel I probably need to have a sign with the spelling of the word, because probably not everyone will pick up on that unless you're actually reading the lyrics, Although occasionally I've had a physicist in the audience. I just played a show last Saturday, and one of the dads in the audience came up to me and was I'm a physicist, and I could see him chuckle at that line. So it's fun when that happens, and you're oh, you got that, right?
Yes.
You got that little joke. So
definitely. Oh, that's so awesome. That's so great. This is a great place for us to take a short break here from a word from one of our partners in podcasting. This is Chatting with Nat. We'll be right back on Mixing It with Nicki Kris here on the Sim Radio Network.
Chatting with Nat is a podcast for independent women seeking to speak their truth and to break down barriers. We host honest conversations that help to guide and empower women. Speak your truth and set yourself free. Let your voice be heard.
And we're back on Mixing It with Nicki Kris on the Sim Radio Network. And my guest, Marsha Goodman-Wood, leader of the renowned Marsha and the Positron. All right, tell us, because I'm sure you have some stories. What are some of the challenges and rewards of playing for kids and families?
I love my audiences. I love playing for kids and families. Kids are just super honest, right? So if you're capturing their attention, they, look right at you. They respond to what you're saying. They you can see if you're connecting. There's no, there's no false, attention or whatever. If they're interested, they're interested. And so, I think that's both rewarding and challenging, because if you're not hitting it with them, you also see it right away. So, okay, I need to shift gears here if there's something else going on. And so you just have to be aware of a lot of things, right? You have to sort of be aware of a lot of different sort of unexpected things that can happen during a show with kids, because they do move around a lot. Sometimes they trip in front of you, or something happens, and you kind of be ready for anything. Or sometimes a kid will get away from a parent and, come right up to your mic stand and want to hold on to the mic stand and not realize that it's going to topple over on them. And so, you have to be ready to step on the bottom so that they can't pull it over, or knock it into your teeth, or, so there's things that have happened during shows where, I've just definitely got to be on my toes for it. But it's really sweet when you see parents and kids bonding and interacting and laughing together and dancing together, smiling and enjoying it. And like I said, I think that the audience is just really responsive. And so it's like you can see immediately that you're having an impact, which is really cool.
Oh, I love that. What do you believe is the most significant impact that your music can have on a child's growth and development? Because I know,
Wow.
you focus on children's music, obviously, right? So you must have some type of opinion on growth, development with music and things like that. And why is this important to you?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I think that for one thing, I think music reaches us in a different way than other things sometimes. A child will respond to music and pick up on something that's in the music, like a topic or an idea that maybe they hadn't thought about before, or maybe learning it in school wasn't hitting with them. And so they might hear it in a song and then it sticks with you and it sparks your interest. And so that's a huge thing for me. If that happens, and I know it does. I get stories sometimes of how a song impacted someone, and so knowing that kids are getting those messages and then taking them somewhere else. Maybe they take it in they explore something, or they have a conversation, or they become interested in something that they might not have been so interested in before. That's amazing to me. Or even some of my songs are not necessarily science topics, right? I also say I write songs about how the world works. So, for example, on the new record, there's a song called No More Doctor Blues that's about anxiety about getting shots and overcoming that anxiety. And so if that helps even, one kid, right? Or one parent who's struggling with that with their child and gives them a way of explaining it and sort of making that moment a little easier, that's huge to me. So I hope that I've sort of created these to ripple out, and so hopefully people who need them will hear them when they need them. So that's kind of my goal. And even for my first record, I have a song about that's called Wear a Helmet, about wearing a helmet when you ride your bike. Or your scooter or your skateboard, whatever. And I have gotten stories of my kid was reluctant to wear their helmet, and they listened to your song and decided they would wear their helmet, right? Boom, we sort of help that family with that struggle, and then that kid is protected, right? Which is the whole goal, right? So little things like that, that could save somebody's life someday, right? So if someone gets some benefit from any of my songs, that means a lot to me.
Great topics. And I know that, like I said, I mean, I love all the songs. I've listened to several of your tracks and several of your albums, and they're all very, very catchy. So I can certainly see why, even parents, when they're this maybe will, I used the potty training songs with my kids. We had a video when we did potty training, and there was this, potty training party song that we used, and they would walk around the house singing the potty song. Hey, it works. It definitely does.
I respect that if somebody there are plenty of people who really need those songs, and so that's huge. It's a big moment for a kid. So to be able to help with those huge moments, that means something,
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. All right, let's talk about the second song that we are going to share. It's called High Fives, and it features Do Me Right and Black Root. Could you please tell us a little bit about this song?
So this song, actually, it came out of, so at shows, especially pre-pandemic, at the end of the show, I would always say to kids, at the end of the show, you can come up and get a high five, and don't worry, I have an unlimited supply of high fives. And I was actually playing, this was before my band formed, and I used to play with this beatboxer named Max Bent, who was actually partners with Jamal Blackroot Collier, and so they have a group together now called the Beatbox Dads. But this was before Beatbox Dads was a thing. And Max and I would play together from time to time. And I said that once at the end of a show, and he said to me, "That's a song right there," and kind of made me focus in on those words. And I was oh, that's a good idea. And I kind of sat with it for a long time. And then eventually that idea rolled back around in my head, and the song came to be. And then when I, was writing it, I invited Max to beatbox on it if he wanted to, and he wasn't available, but Jamal was interested. So Jamal ended up beatboxing on the track, and I also invited Do Me Right to rap on it because, I forget why I had that idea, but we had wanted to work together, and I just felt like it would fit in well with that song. And originally, when I told my producer that that's what I had in mind, I think he was kind of like, okay, like, I don't really see how this is going to happen, but, like, let's give it a go. And then Doomy came up with this amazing rap that really, like, brought home, like, all the ideas that I was going for in the song. And so, like, I love what he did with his part in the song and love how it all came together in the end.
It is a very, very catchy song, and I bet you audiences go nuts for it. So we're going to now play this because it is really cool, and it's called High Fives, again featuring Do Me Right and Black Root. This is by Marsha and the Positron.
Got an unlimited supply of high fives. Yeah, an unlimited supply of high fives. As sure as I'm alive, you know I'll give you a high five. Got an unlimited supply of high fives. It's my positive energy that keeps me happy. And when our hands touch, it's true. Feel that positive energy too. Got an unlimited supply of high fives. Yeah, an unlimited supply of high fives. As sure as I'm alive, you know I'll give you a high five. Got an unlimited supply of high fives.
When it comes to high fives, got unlimited supplies, making people happy, and that is not a surprise. Energy high, it's gotta be renewable. If you haven't tried, it's easy and it's doable. Give a high five so you know I'm in your corner. Hands up in the air, I know you really wanna. Every time it happens, we all feel good. I give the whole world a high five if I could. Giving high fives, another way to celebrate or let somebody know what they did was great. Here, there, everywhere, getting so excited. I'm going out to play and everybody is invited. Another high five for you, now who's next? Pass it on and let them know you think they are the best. Giving high fives, that's what it's about. Unlimited supply, so we'll never run out.
Got an unlimited supply of high fives. Yeah, an unlimited supply of high fives. As sure as I'm alive, you know I'll give you a high five. Got an unlimited supply of high fives. Got an unlimited supply of high fives. Yeah, an unlimited supply of high fives. As sure as I'm alive, you know I'll give you a high five. Got an unlimited supply of high fives.
Like I mentioned, another very, very catchy tune. Like a lot of your tunes. A lot of your tunes are really, really catchy.
One of the fun things about that song is we have actually played some shows with Doomy because he lives not too far from us. I'm in D.C., and my bandmates are actually from D.C., Maryland, and Virginia, and Doomy is from Virginia. So a couple of times he's been able to perform with us, but when he doesn't perform with us, I get to do the rap. So that's really fun for me because I don't normally get to do that, and I love doing that part. So, and then usually I do play that like near the end of the show and like offer kids high fives or invite them to like high five each other, which is always like a really fun thing to see. Everybody having fun doing that in the crowd.
Oh, that's great. I like that. Closing song with high fives. Woo-hoo. All right. Well, before we run out of time, I do want to talk about your upcoming release, your new projects and things like that. So what can parents and children look forward to experiencing in the near future from you? Tell us what you have going on.
Yeah. So our record, the full record, Energetic, came out on September 1st, and so it's out in all the places for people to listen to. And right now we are working on some videos to go along with the record. So we actually have like 2 videos currently in progress. One is a puppet-based video for Fly Lady Bug Fly, and if you like look online at the album cover, you see on the back of the album cover these like fun puppets. There's like a ladybug and a bee puppet, and so those are actually from the video. So that's like in the works right now. And the puppeteers are actually in California, in Humboldt, California. They go by Quack and Wabbit Puppetry. And then my video producer is in New York, and her name is Sandra craft, and she actually did all of the album art as well. So she's like very talented. So she's producing that video. And then we also have a video for Counting on My Brain, which is the song that we did earlier in the program. And that is an animation based video that is being done by Billy Kelly, who actually, like, fun fact, designed our logo, and he did our album art for our previous album. And he's a kindy musician as well as a comedian and a grown-up musician, and very multi-talented guy. So he's in the process of doing that video. So those are the two that are currently in progress. And then we have some other videos in the planning stages that are actually dance-based videos. We have a couple of dance-based videos coming. I don't want to jinx it by saying what they are yet, but those are hopefully coming. So if people are interested in our video work, you can follow us on YouTube. We're at Marsha and the Positrons, and we do have some videos up there already, so you can check out what we have. And then, if you subscribe, when the new things come, you'll get a notification, so you can go over and watch those. And one other thing that's coming behind this, so one single that we released recently that's not on this record is a single called Thank You Science that I did with a New Zealand-based kindy artist named Claudia Robin Gunn. And we have a bunch more songs that we have written together that we haven't yet recorded. So we recorded that single when I was in the studio with my band recording Energetic, and she recorded her parts in New Zealand and sent them to my producer who put it all together. TJ is his name, and he was easily able to meld all that together. But those are songs that we wrote together by Zoom during the pandemic. And so we got together and started to do a little songwriting. And Thank You Science was the first song that we intended to write, although we got sidetracked in our first Zoom and ended up writing another and finishing another song first. And then we finished Thank You Science. So that song is out there and available, and then there's more coming behind that. But I have a little pause before I go start making the next record. Gotta, finish getting this one out into the world, and then we'll tackle recording the next one.
Well, awesome. I know everyone is looking forward to that. And you mentioned your YouTube channel. Where else can they find you on social media, and what is your website?
Yeah, so they can find us at marshaandthepositrons.com. That's our website. You can, find our music and our videos and such on there. And then we're on Instagram at Marsha and the Positrons. We're on Facebook at Marsha and the Positrons. Those are the main ones, but we're also on like LinkedIn, Twitter. So whatever you like to use, I'm probably there. And, just generally looking for us at Marsha and the Positrons. We'll turn up the band and turn up our music. And we would love it if you have some comment and want to reach out to us. I try to be responsive to people. We definitely appreciate all of the follows and subscribes and likes and love it when people are enjoying our music. So that's really the goal. And of course we're on Spotify and YouTube and Deezer and Tidal and wherever you like to listen, we're probably there.
Fantastic. Well, Marsha, I would like to thank you for taking the time to chat with me today. I know you are under the weather, so I really appreciate it that you took the time to chat with us. It has been an absolute pleasure getting to know a little bit more about you and sharing your awesome music with our listeners. Thank you, all of you, for tuning in to Mixin' It. And on behalf of all of us here at Sim Radio, this is Nicki Kris. Until next time, keep on mixing it.